due to climate change. Moving on, but staying in North America, with US President Donald Trump, who says he plans to speak with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about what he calls the ongoing danger of Iran's nuclear program. Trump insists the program has been permanently damaged under his watch, but warns Iran could be preparing to restart enrichment at a different, undisclosed location. He says Tehran has refused to allow inspectors in and still hasn't committed to halting its nuclear ambitions. Well, joining us to discuss this development is Berzin Wagmar, a foreign affairs expert, joining us from London. Berzin, as always, thank you for taking the time to speak with us here on NewsX World. Trump's statement is clear. Of course, he's made it obvious that no searches, no investigations will be taking place at Iran's nuclear facilities. He also says that there's been no concrete confirmation from Iran that they are stopping nuclear uranium enrichment. What is your opinion, firstly, of this comment? And does it signal potentially that the Israeli and US action has been pointless given Iran's stance?
No, the strikes in question, Operation Midnight Hammer, was a success, and it has made a considerable dent in Iran's ability to project itself as a nuclear power, because it came on the heels of the IAEA report, which Director General Grossi had submitted, where Iran was formally declared in violation of its obligations as an NPT signatory. So President Trump's contention that considerable damage has been done at the three said facilities cannot be discounted. But the problems are this: we still need to know what has happened, because we do know just prior to the said attacks, there was considerable movement of men and material from the sites, particularly at Fordo. So there is every likelihood of the Iranians having spirited material away. There is always the question of undisclosed surreptitious sites, which even came to light. For example, 3 ballistic missile sites that were noted in the IAEA 31st May report, which were not hitherto known. The site at Isfahan was known, but there was another one also discovered in Isfahan, for example. And then there's the question of Iran's human resources, that is to say, the scientists in question who can always put the program back into effect in no time. So even if there's a time lag and we have managed to make a dent in the program, these factors cannot be ruled out. And the question of Iran suspending cooperation is also significant, in that inspectors who were incidentally on ground in Iran right through the 12 days of the said war with Israel have now left. They left overland to Armenia, as we do now know, though it's understood that a few have stayed back in Tehran. But they have not been allowed to see or inspect the said sites, which Director General Grossi has requested. And Iran is playing hardball, naturally, for that. It has stated so far that it is not withdrawing from the NPT convention, which it signed in 1968 and ratified in 1970. But if it doesn't cooperate with the IAEA, things are looking grim for Iran. That is there for sure.
Yes, Berzin, of course, conversation around diplomacy on an Iranian nuclear program has come back into the fore after that 12-day conflict and 12-day war between Iran and Israel. The EU talking about Iran's nuclear program, but it seems Iran are hesitant to enter discussions. They say they never left the negotiating table, and this situation was taken out of their hands by Israel, who attacked after planning their operation for months in advance. Is there a possibility of Iran getting back to the table with the US? We heard reports of potential talks with Abbas Araghchi and Steve Witkoff, but is this actually going to lead to any concrete action that might be aligned with what the US is looking for and the wider geopolitical community?
The response to the said talks proposed in Oslo next week have been muted from Tehran. they could or not go in, but the question is Iran's insistence and this self-righteous indignation projected by Tehran that we were in negotiations with Washington and then we were attacked was just pandering to the law of the jungle, and all that is now put out by Tehran, doesn't simply hold water. Because although Iran may claim that it was in talks, it was practically stringing Washington along all this time through vacillation and fudging. So the question of sincerity in the talks was never a part of Iran's modus operandi. And then there were concomitant talks also with the Europeans in Geneva, which failed on the eve of Operation Midnight Hammer, where the Europeans attempted to prevail on Foreign Minister Arakci that Iran should come to some reasonable understanding and accommodation, for example, on inspection of the ballistic missile sites, release of prisoners and other aspects, all to which Iran steadfastly refused. So Iran's position has been flint-faced in the face of negotiations, and at the same time it thinks it can buy time. And clearly Mr. Trump is impatient and is not willing to just let them string along as such. That has been Iran's modus operandi, and Mr. Trump is calling it out.
Yes, absolutely. Berzin Wagmar, thank you ever so much for joining us and providing your insight there. We will, of course, stay across all of the developments coming from Iran regarding their nuclear program. We stay with US President Donald Trump now, who has spoken